Hello, how are you? This is Matthew from LoveBudi with a love tip for today. We're talking about feedback today. Feedback, giving feedback. What does it mean? Sometimes I see in some TV shows they talk about, oh, I don't have any notes. Do you have any notes? After maybe they do some acting or maybe they read some plays, some writing. Do I have any notes are kind of feedback? It's like, oh, I think this character should be changed, or I think you're doing this too strong, or whatever. What about feedback in life? What about if somebody is behaving in a way that we think is, wow, that's surprising, that's maybe not appropriate for what they're trying to do? For example, maybe they're playing the guitar, but they're playing the guitar too loudly, or they're playing too fast, or maybe they're singing. Maybe they need to get some singing lessons because their voice is not quite as good as it could be, and they need to practice to improve their voice. Feedback is a test of love. Why is feedback a test of love? Because telling someone you need the singing lessons, most people can't do that, really. Most people are not really able to communicate. They haven't really studied communication. They haven't focused on love. They don't know how to give this kind of kind feedback. Just pausing a minute because I'm thinking about myself and how that's a skill that I'm really learning and something that I really need to learn about and be better at. And that is speaking to someone with some sensitivity, being careful about what you say. And once we're able to do this kind of communication, we learn how to do this communication, then it's much, much more easier to give feedback. I'm pretty big on feedback, but I haven't always been very good at giving feedback in a way that is not going to offend the person, it's not going to hurt their feelings. So the other qualities of love come in to the scene here. They come, it's about respect, it's about kindness, it's about sensitivity, it's about awareness, being present, communication. So when we have these qualities, when we're thinking, wow, being careful, that's another quality of love, being careful. We're able to give the person feedback about their guitar, music, and singing. And what that can be, that can also be, that can also be about all kinds of things in life. One time when I was working at Hewlett-Packard, I was working as a consultant, and I was doing software there. And because I was a consultant, my feedback system for how was I performing on my job was not allowed to be done by my manager. It had to be done by Kelly Services. Kelly Services was the company that was that hired me for the job in Hewlett-Packard. So I was charging money by the hour, and I wasn't an employee, so I didn't get any employee benefits, and they had a lot of secret meetings and things that they would do that I couldn't be part of. So when it comes to feedback, I was asking for feedback, and my manager at the time wouldn't give me feedback because he knew it was against the rules. And I thought, well, okay, what am I going to do? So I went to Kelly Services. They basically were non-existent. I mean, they didn't have any support system whatsoever. Even if they were physically there, it was not being run by people that were present and willing to give any service to me. That was my experience. So I couldn't get any feedback from them. And so I wrote up a report to the boss. I said, maybe I'm doing this, maybe I'm doing this right, maybe I'm doing this wrong, maybe I need to improve in this area. What do you think of this? And he just refused to even read it or give me any feedback. So I'm a guy who really understands and really feels strongly about this idea of feedback. All my life, even from my family or from my friends, I've always been kind of on the outside, on the fringe of society, not really wanting to follow all the regular steps that people go through. I got out of high school early instead of going to college. I tested in college to find out my aptitude or find out my level, but I didn't find any value in any of the courses that were being offered. So I was self-taught when I got into the computer business. And I had my own computer business. I owned my own company, and I also did consulting too. And I've done a lot of community projects as well. And all of this has just been outside of the regular norms. And people will talk behind your back, but they don't always give you feedback. Even people that you consider are your best friends. A couple of reasons. One, I think the biggest reason is because they don't want to deal with, if you don't agree, or if your feelings are hurt, or if there's some challenge to the feedback that they give. A lot of times people don't want to give feedback. They're not able to give feedback. Maybe they don't care enough to give feedback, or maybe they care enough they don't know how to communicate, or maybe they just try to communicate, but the person receiving the feedback is not so receptive to it. And I'll admit it, there's been times when I have not been completely receptive to feedback that maybe somebody gave me. I didn't necessarily agree. Maybe I'd get emotional, things like that. So that's one of the challenges that we can face when we try to give feedback. But feedback is part of love because it's part of nurturing. If you're teaching your child to ride a bicycle, you're going to tell them, you got to push harder on the pedals, or you got to hold the wheel straight, or you need more speed. You're going too slow. You're going to fall over. This is feedback, right? This is helping the person to achieve the goal that they want. And all of us can really appreciate feedback at times. So let's give feedback to each other. Let's do our best to do it in a sensitive way, in a caring way, a respectful way, in a loving way. And when we do that, and when we're kind, and when we're patient, when we're understanding, when we're sensitive, and when we're being careful not to hurt their feelings, but we're still wanting to help them and nurture them by saying, maybe it would help if you saying not so loudly. Or maybe, what do you think about that? What do you think about, is it better to sing loud, or is it better to sing more quietly, or how should you do that? You can find ways to give people feedback when there's something that that might really be helpful to them. And you could also give a disclaimer. You can say, I don't know, I'm not an expert, I'm not a record producer, professional. This is just my personal opinion. So you don't have to come from a place where your feedback is 100% correct and true. It's just your personal feelings, and present it that way, and present it in a kind way, and it's really going to help people. We need to give each other more feedback in this world. We need it. It's a kind of love. It's a kind of nurturing. Thanks so much for listening. This is Matthew from LoveBudi with a love tip for today. Hope your day is going wonderfully. I hope you have a lot of love in your life. I love you. That's an L for love. I love you. Have a great day, and until next time, I'll say bye-bye.